Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, then don't forget to subscribe. In this video, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defends himself from accusations of stealing Palestine. Now, when asked why he thinks the claim that Palestinians were somehow there in Israel first and have been displaced in a colonial occupation by the Jews and how this has gained such cachet, not least in the East, he responds to say all this is because of ignorance. Now, according to him, he refuses the claims of Palestinians being there first. He talks about the story of Jesus and how he was a Jewish rabbi living 2,000 years ago. He was a rabbi from Galilee and he came to Jerusalem where he turned the money tables of the money changers on the Temple Mount, which happened in Jerusalem, the capital that King David made 3,000 years ago. Now, he talks about a lot of things in this video. More reason you need to watch this video till the very end. This is a must watch, so here is the video.
So why do you think the claim that the Palestinians were somehow there in Israel first and have been displaced in a colonial occupation, let's say, by the Jews, why do you think that idea has gained such cachet, not least in the West?
Because of ignorance? I mean, what do you mean they were here first? Well, you're familiar with the story of Jesus, right? Jesus was a Jewish rabbi living 2,000 years ago. He was a rabbi from the Galilee, okay? He came to Jerusalem, he turned the money tables of the tables of the money changers on the Temple Mount. Where did that happen? Did it happen in Tibet? It happened here. Jerusalem was our capital. King David made it our capital 3,000 years ago. So the Jews are here. To try to say that they weren't here and that the Palestinians were here thousands of years ago is ridiculous. Anybody who can, you can actually Google this and find out how absurd this thing is. So as far as reinventing ancient history, that is unpardonable, because anybody can find out and understand that the Jews were here for thousands of years, the Palestinians weren't here. As far as modern times are concerned, what the Palestinians have said is, and I write this in my book, and I show it because it's so comical. What they say is, we were here, Palestine was a verdant land in the 19th century, teeming with Palestinians, until the Jews came in, took it over and threw it out. Okay, well, that's what Arafat effectively said in his infamous speech in the United Nations, blaming Zionism, equating Zionism with racism. Well, there's only one problem with that. He said that the Jewish invasion of this verdant Palestinian homeland happened in 1881, okay? The problem with that is that 12 years before, a famous visitor, among hundreds of visitors, named Mark Twain, visited the Holy Land. And he describes a totally different picture. He describes Palestine, I'm quoting him, is a vast wasteland. He said, only imagination can grace this barren land with the pomp of circumstance and life. It's just, he said, we traveled for a whole day. We didn't see, in the Galilee, we didn't see a human being, one single human being. He said, Jerusalem sits in sackcloth and ashes. And as he was saying that, it's the Jewish return that began. The Jewish return that began building the land. Well, perhaps one could argue, it's obvious that Mark Twain was not in the service of the Jewish state because it didn't exist. He wasn't in the service of the Jewish lobby because there wasn't any Jewish lobby. He was just reporting what was there. Could there possibly have been a tremendous influx of Palestinians between 1869 and 1881 that Arafat says the Jewish invasion began and destroyed the Palestinian paradise? Well, alas, no, because in the year 1881, another famous visitor visits Israel, and he visits this land, and he writes also his memoirs, okay? His name was Arthur Penrhyn Stanley. He was a very famous courtier of Queen Victoria's court. Okay, and he came here on a special visit. And he says, I looked south and I look north. He says, I'm in Judea and I see nothing. He says, a barren expanse. And they both express, both Twain and Arthur Penrhyn Stanley say the same thing. When when, oh, when will the Jews come back and bring this land to life? And the answer is right then. We came back, brought it back to life. There were Arabs living here, but it was, as I say, a barren wasteland. But Arabs began to immigrate naturally, because we created a rise in the standard of living that attracted Arabs from neighboring states. Those Arabs are now the descendants of those Arabs who migrated as a result of the Jewish return. Many of them now are considered Palestinians. So what I'm saying, and I'm saying this to you, Jordan, and to your audience, there has been a complete fabrication of history. It's the biggest lie of the big lies that have permeated the 20th century and the 21st century, is to say that the Arabs were here before, that is, the Palestinians were here before the Jews, when we were here for thousands of years, that we are the colonials, when in fact it was the Arabs who were the colonials who dispossessed the original natives, and that is the Jews, that we came back to this land that was laid barren by the Arab conquest, brought it back to life, and allowed Arab immigration, what we call now Palestinian immigration, to come back in. And now they say to us, in unimaginable chutzpah, they say, you don't belong here. They recreate ancient history, they recreate modern history, and this is a lot of hokum. It's ridiculous.
Now, him saying all those things contradicting to what is written in books and what people know sounds really crazy. Because according to my research, Israel illegally occupied the West Bank and East Jerusalem following the 1967 Arab-Israeli War. Now, it has since approved and built dozens of settlements for hundreds of thousands of Israelis on stolen Palestinian land, a move considered illegal under international law. The land in question has been held by the Israeli administration as enemy lands ever since the occupation began. In recent years, Israel has evicted Palestinians from their homes in occupied East Jerusalem on the grounds that the properties were supposedly owned by Jews prior to 1948. This has been strongly opposed by the displaced Palestinian families and their lawyers, who have legal documents backing their right to their homes. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forcibly expelled from their homes and lands during the 1948 creation of Israel, known as the Nakba, the catastrophe. Their property was turned over to Israelis under Israel's absentee property law, and the Palestinians are not allowed to return to their homes. Under the Netanyahu government's plans, areas surrounding Bethlehem and north of Jerusalem will be eligible for resettlement by Israelis, according to the Israeli NGOs Peace Now and BIMCOM. Areas in Hebron are under particular threat, where plans to build new Israeli neighborhoods in the heart of the West Bank's second biggest city may not get the go-ahead. Many plots of the land now vulnerable to seizure lie within Area B of the West Bank, where Palestinians run some civil affairs, but Israel has military control. Now, these lands were nationalized by Jordan when it ruled the West Bank between 1948 and 1967, and are currently leased to Palestinian business and homes. Let's now take a look at the comments from people and hear what people had to say about what Israel's Prime Minister said. Now, the first comment reads, "I have lost all respect for Jordan Peterson." Not him saying that Google this. We control Google too. Laugh out loud. Devastated to see JP's view on this issue. Some sort of claim. I have no words. So I can literally claim the whole Europe based on this statement. Benjamin is lying. 401 years of peace in Palestine before British rule messed it up. Look up videos of Jerusalem in 1800s. He does not believe in Jesus, made laws to pay evangelists, uses his name just to gain support. God gave the land to Abraham. Read your Old Testament. Rome conquered that land. DNA has no bias. Just because you have a big house with a huge backyard that you don't use, it doesn't mean some homeless people are entitled to steal it. Why is it illegal to do DNA in Israel? Because the truth will come out that you guys are not Jews. Okay, we have come to the end of the video. Kindly share your thoughts on this video in the comments section. For me, it's a bye-bye and thanks for watching.